Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another live broadcast on the Fivers Futures. I am Dave, your host, and hopefully, this is going to be another fun and exciting one. We had a fun and exciting one with Jane yesterday, trading live. We took some good shorts. So we'll see what happened. I am in a trade right now, and we'll see if it pays off or not. We have 30 minutes until the open, so hopefully we can get some good displacement before then and see what happens. If it doesn't work out, then we will reevaluate. So we'll see. Let me know how you guys are doing. Welcome, welcome. If it's your first time watching us, remember to like, remember to subscribe, because we do this for you every day. We literally put our trading on the line for you and show you the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything. All right, guys. I'm happy to be here. We had some exciting news. So we were all waiting for well, I don't know if it was everyone, but at least I was waiting to see what would happen after 8 a.m. I mean 8 p.m. yesterday. And we got another interesting news from the market. All right, I have someone in the house. I hear the doorbell ringing. Let me know when you're ready. All right, Steve is in the house. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Good to see you. It's good, it's good, it's good. We're back for another exciting day in the markets. And I'm glad. What a move, man. That's good. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Everybody yesterday was like taco, taco, taco. And yep, it came. Yep, it came on time. It came on time indeed. So well, we'll see. We're gonna see what happens. But yeah, a super interesting move. We're gonna take a look at it. I was trading live with Jane yesterday, and we were shorting, and maybe the fact that we couldn't push lower was kind of a sign, because this was a classic buy the rumor, and we're gonna see if we're gonna sell the news this morning.
Absolutely. I mean, yet for me, the name of the game is how much of this sticks and how fast, right?
Yeah,
'Cause when you get this crazy of a move, I think it's going to be there's going to be an aspect of FOMO and that we've started to see, kind of playing out overnight, and now it's kind of going to be a little bit of a reality check in the first kind of hour here about how much of this volume overnight. I like to think about it as how much of this inventory that's long overnight is going to get offloaded on this liquidity that's going to come into the market. So
exactly.
depending on how strong that is, that's going to give me a lot of faith in this rally if it does stick, and going to put me one foot out the door again if we're seeing this selling coming in after a big move up, because we have seen that in the past week or so a couple times.
We have. Indeed. So if let me know if you want me to pull up your chart so you can show us what you're thinking about, and then I can maybe give my perspective. And then I caught one of your webinars the other day, so I have some questions for you. I took some notes. I wasn't watching live, but I was watching after, because you always put out super cool information. This week we're talking about how to find intraday opportunities, and I have my notes there. You talked about your bottom breakdown setup that you like. You showed a Robinhood one that you took, and then you had this awesome quote that I kept, and I said, "Man, I need to make a T-shirt." You said match effort with the result, and you
Oh,
were giving the drywall example and talking about volume and stuff. I don't know if you remember,
I do, I
but
do.
yeah, that was
It's
awesome. So I think it's these are some things we can talk about today. They're going to be great insight for everyone who's watching. Let me bring up your chart right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to get into all of that. I think that I'm a very visual learner, so I use a lot of those
Yep,
kind of
same here.
metaphors. Those. I guess I always think of like science class. Like I had a really good science teacher, and she would always like have us go out in the parking lot and like jump on stuff, and that's kind of where my head was at, I guess. But it's an interesting juncture in the market here, so we can start off, I guess with SPY here, just real quick. My paths are a little bit outdated, so we're gonna just start fresh here.
No worries. I like the fact that I'm seeing three paths. So, like me, you always have your three case, your bullish, your bearish, and your neutral scenarios planned out. So that's good.
Absolutely. I just the one thing I really want to harp on here is that, well, prior to this morning, we were at this really kind of key pivot. We were trading right into this yellow 21-day moving average, trading into this horizontal high volume node here. And the way I frame the setup is, hey, if we find support over here very quickly, we can ramp up through this low power node to, or I'm sorry, low volume node up into this next area of interest. I was kind of think we'd hang out at 670 at least for a day or so, but with this move, with the news, I should say, we're getting the big catalyst for the push all the way up. So I'm going to switch to a 4-hour chart. So now we can see the big power candle there. And what we
Indeed.
kind of see, we just kind of leapfrogged through a big area of interest, right? I would call it the devil level, that
I
666,
remember.
always very sticky. You have that. You have the 200 day at about 662, 663, and this is an area which personally I would love to see a back test to get long, and if we do see the volume coming back in there and supporting that drywall, so to speak, because we'll get into it that example. Well, then I think it could be the big breakthrough, the back test that we're looking for to enter, and then kind of we can see that carry on in a safe way. Right now, it's hard to buy into this for me, but I can't deny the fact that, hey, if you're smashing through key levels, that's obviously a sign of strength, right?
Indeed, indeed, indeed. I agree with you that we definitely need to pull back. Personally, since I'm scalping this morning, I'm trying to take advantage to see if we could go and take out some liquidity levels further up, maybe 20 points, 10, 20
Mhm.
points above where we're trading now. But hasn't been paying off yet. We'll see. But I totally agree with you. And then if we zoom out completely on the ES, I
Mhm.
was looking at a channel. I'm gonna switch my screen real quick to
Absolutely.
show you what I was thinking about. And
Perfect.
while I do that, hello, Shive. Is it Shive None? Welcome to the stream.
Welcome,
Good to
welcome.
see you. So yeah, let me zoom out really quick and show you what I had been seeing.
I see we got the exact same downtrend line we've been watching like a hawk. That thing got smashed.
Yeah, I like it when I talk to traders and then we have kind of the same view. I'm like, all right, I'm not a total dumbass. Oops.
No,
But
totally.
yeah,
With
so
some
yeah,
of these, you second guess yourself, right? So it's nice to have
yes, you
that
do.
confirmation. Like I'm,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that channel. I got that on one of my charts too.
Exactly. So I was looking at that channel and this bounce, whether or not we had this backdrop of, everything that's been going on was interesting because we
Mhm.
bounced off of that aligned with that previous resistance level. This
Yeah.
was the tariff thing,
Yeah.
So what I'm using is, okay, let me use this bounce as a reference, and if we take this day, on the next day we had a pullback. So that's
Mhm.
a pretty deep pullback, if you will. And that would align with what you're talking about, that 662 level on the SPY. So today, at least for me, what I would expect, is a quick move up, take liquidity, and then pull back to at least 50% of that huge candle there to
Mhm.
get some possibly interesting buys. And then we continue to rally up at least for the next 2 weeks, since supposedly the strait is open. So
Yeah, I hear the potential skepticism in your voice there, and I know I think it's important to just like, yeah, to get a grain of salt here, right? Like I think that
exactly.
it is big definitive news, and I'm having a hard time putting my bull cap back on there, but I do think that this is what we were waiting for. I do think that we do have that window like you're talking about. You also have this interesting dynamic with tax day on the 15th coming up, and the
Uh-huh.
potential for money to start kind of uh, maybe that's one component of seasonality that we're waiting for, that tax day, that middle of the month OPEX, that kind of shift in the in the hedging pressures that we'll see happen, then that might be what the market kind of needs to lift off. Really quickly, just on the hourly and going into the daily, what I like to note is just the little bit of potentiality for like basically what you're talking about. I think if we did run liquidity, maybe 20 points up to the north here, sweeping that 6850 on ES, I think would be a really key level, or rejecting into it and just
Hmm.
sweeping the previous highs there. I think that might be the little liquidity grab upwards that we need to kind of set this roll in motion. Because to me, we could always rebase a little off VWAP and just scream higher, but to me, this looks like a little bit of a rolling action. If you see this paintbrush, let's see, just
No,
kind
I
of
totally agree.
that scooping kind of
Yep.
curling action. So I
Yep.
think that combined with on the hourly, we do have a crossover in play on my oscillator there. Usually that's a sign that we can start looking down, and you see the hourly or the half hour is overbought and rolling down, just going down the fractals. All of these look to me like they could cool off a little, with the exception of maybe that 5 minute and the 1 minute. So how I
Indeed.
kind of frame that is, hey, maybe um, for 1 to 5 to 15 minutes or so, this 5 minute momentum might play out, might try to push up and then kind of gas itself out and start curling over. Meanwhile, those 15 minutes, those 30-minute oscillators, they're going to be still rolling over in that next 15 minutes on the pop, and that could be the opportunity to short and have that all kind of coming together. So that'd be the setting. I can't talk. That'd be the setup that I'm most eager to look out for today, because I think that it could be a really easy fade down to this hourly trigger or so, which, I mean, heck, just kind of retesting the bottom of this high volume node, that's 6,800. That's a
Yep.
30, 40, 50 point move if we can catch that. And that's cash money. That'd make the week. That's
Pretty, yeah,
the big
pretty
setup.
significant. Yep, indeed. We're looking at the same things. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I've entered my long. We'll see if it plays out. Hopefully, I don't get wigged out. And then if not, then we'll wait for a second setup to potentially get our short. And then if it turns out to be a completely non-directional day where we just move sideways because shorts and longs can't agree or disagree,
Mhm.
then it's we'll sit on our hands. So we'll see what happens there. Unfortunately, I did not look at open interest and options data and levels. That would have been a good reference, but we'll
Well, we
see.
can
We'll see
we
what
can
happens.
get some of that cooking too. I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
know you're the guy for that.
I don't know about that. I'm a guy for some of that. How about that? So I'll pull Gex levels for us, and we can talk about that in just a few minutes. It'll be more relevant, I think, about 15, 20 minutes into the session once
into
that starts to
into
populate more. But we can
Yep.
definitely talk about what we might be seeing going into that. So let me see. Switch in. There's one other thing I wanted to show you, but I'm yapping here. I'll let you know when I find it. That's
No problem. No problem. No problem. I
uh,
can. Uh-huh.
Oh yes, here it is here. So just the one thing I'm really interested in as well. I mean, VIX is going to be important, but I think this is where my money is. I want to watch for USO here to basically interact with this 115 level, and this is an area where I think there's a couple areas of interest. Sorry, I was talking through trying to find my tool. There it is. Great. On USO here, an hourly with a volume profile. Now we're talking. Awesome. So
Nice.
this is what I wanted to show. Oh, and of course my alarm's going off there.
It's
Chaos right
time.
before the bell.
No, it's fine. Wait.
So essentially, there's just kind of this zone of interest here, this big high volume shelf
Uh-huh.
area represented by this blue zone here. The bottom of this aligns with the dashed line. This is the point of control. So the biggest point on the volume shelf here. You also have that daily trigger for my system, all aligning here at 115. So that's the kind of big node of interest for oil here, my
Oil.
biggest counter indicator for today right now, because obviously that's going to be the biggest kind of counterbalance to SPY's ability to go up. It's going to be
Hmm.
how much oil pressure is sitting there, how much of that risk premium has been dissolved. So this is finally what I was looking for. We were always saying, all right, well, we got some quote unquote bullish news. The market went up 0.5%, but oil kind of just hung out.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing that risk premium melt. Now 17%. That's something to write home about.
That is definitely significant, and just for those who don't know, USO is the ticker for oil on the stocks, same as CL.
Yeah,
So you're seeing basically the same pattern play out there.
yeah,
Um,
for the futures boys, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to mention there. Yeah, I'm looking. I consider that 115 handle
yeah,
roughly the 90 handle there.
funny how it's touching already on the future side. So that's
Right. So this is interesting, right? Because what we're seeing there is my trigger system on the futures contract, it's going to be pricing in that overnight move too.
yep.
So how I kind of think about this is there's two levels of play, and those two levels form a zone. So
Hmm.
you'll see that between the futures level of the technicals and the SPY level, and you'll see that on or sorry, in what would you call it, cash traded index, I guess.
Yeah.
So for SPY versus ES, you'll see the same thing, where using the extended hour settings or vice versa.
Hmm.
Sorry, how do I phrase this? Using the extended settings or the indicator on the futures contract will often give you the kind of top of the zone, because as you see right now, this blue stair step line, this is already kind of being tested. We're seeing some buyers
Hmm.
entertaining the possibility of it holding, but on the cash traded contract where most of the volume is, this one to me is the more important level. So you're going to get the on the futures contract, that'll be the round number 2 on that 90 handle, as well as coming down just a little bit. But in my book, that forms a little bit of a zone from where we're trading right now to where, my kind of target is for the top of that, bottom of that shelf, I should say. So it is really interesting to see that kind of interplay and how the market kind of takes both of those levels and takes them both into account, and by extension of that forms a really defined area of interest for you. I really
Indeed.
stumbled my way through that
No, no, no. You're fine. You're
explanation,
fine.
but
I'm following. I'm following. What what I just wanted to get from you is because is what are you determining as the top and bottom of the range? So you're determining that the that USO, since it trades RTH, so regular trading hours, would be your topping indicator, and then CL would be your bottoming indicator, we could say,
but
because it
I can
trades those
I can
extended
explain
hours.
it
So
in
it's
I can explain it and visualize it a little better, I think. Let me just disconnect the symbols here. So now what we can do is pull up the futures contract on one side of the screen. So basically, on the left side of the screen, this staggered stair step line is taking into account all of the overnight trading, so
yeah.
24 hours trading.
Mhm.
So because of that, its indicator is creeping up all night. It's creeping up all night, while the one on the right here is chilling overnight. So
Yeah.
because of that difference, you're getting this left stair step line. This one's already getting
This would be your
tested,
yeah,
right?
this would be your top. We could
Exactly.
say.
And so
Okay.
see, we still have a little bit of room on the cash traded contract or the USO to
Mhm.
kind of creep down another $3 on this contract, call it 4 or 5 on the WTI. So
Yeah.
because of that, that's what I'm kind of representing by this blue horizontal zone here, the kind of top of the zone that we're testing right now. And then I guess I could trim it down just a little bit. I like the 115 round number plus that extra where we saw that high volume on the shelf there. So that's
Nice.
the kind of concept that I wanted to give out there with, like, okay, there's a level that's kind of ticking up overnight, and then you're also going to have a lot of traders trading just off that same indicator, but off of the actual SPY level of
Mhm.
interest there.
Interesting. That's a very interesting way to look at it. I've never thought about it like that. So that's great. That's great.
It's kind of arcane, right? Like it's one of those things that like I'm not even sure exactly how to use it yet. This is kind of how I work with it. There's
Uh-huh.
probably somebody who's going to look at that and go, "Oh, well, I have some other insight from this that's more actionable." So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where it's kind of like an Easter egg in a video game. You're like, "Ah, I noticed this. I
Yeah,
don't
exactly. And
really
then you're
know
not
what
sure.
it." Yeah.
But no, it's very good to kind of that's why I like talking to people who maybe look at the markets differently and look at other assets, because it would never occur to me to look at USO, because when it comes to stocks, I'm only buying stuff and holding them for, I don't know, a decade.
Yeah, yeah.
So so that's a very interesting perspective. Yesterday we were talking about, so we were looking at the four futures indexes, so the Dow, the Russell, the ES, and the Nasdaq. And you had the Nasdaq, the well, every you only had the Dow moving down sharply, and the other ones were kind of moving sideways. And then I had somebody ask me the question. It was like, well, what does that tell you? You know, you have three indexes moving sideways, which usually kind of move in lockstep, and then one moving down sharply. So my point of view was, hey, we should be using the Dow kind of as a leading indicator, and that turned out to be right because later on, and we took our trades on the S&P 500. The shorts were shorting the other indexes based off of that initial step down action on the Dow was the right move. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, using it's something I didn't understand when I don't know, 5, 6 years ago when I just had this when I was a beginner, how you can use other assets as a proxy to take your trades. So
So sorry,
very
really quick
super
to make sure
interesting
I'm
there.
understanding. Did you say that Dow was the outlier? Were you saying that it was weak when you were expecting, or when the others were showing strength, or was it vice versa? Sorry,
No, it was the Dow was weak when
Mhm.
the others they were not showing strength, but they were just kind of moving sideways. So the idea was that okay, the other ones are moving sideways. They're not showing strength or weakness. We're
Mhm.
kind of in this range, but the
Indecision.
Dow indecision area, but the Dow is moving down sharply.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, let's use this as a leading indicator. Let's start scaling into shorts on the ES or whatever you want to trade because the Dow is telling us that hey, the move is ready to go because it
Beautiful.
started on the Nasdaq. And then the other thing, the other consideration was that let me watch the time because I want to watch the open. By the way, I've switched my bias right now. I'm not holding that long,
Okay.
so I've flipped short. We'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll
Just
see how it plays out.
full disclosure for the ones who are watching.
That's being a
Um,
trader, right? That's being a
yeah,
trader, especially with
yeah,
futures and scalping. Sometimes people give me a hard time, like, weren't you the opposite direction 10 minutes ago? Like, yeah, did you see we were at the bottom of the range then?
exactly,
And then now it's a
exactly.
different opportunity. Like,
Strong opinions held lightly.
that's beautiful,
Um,
beautiful.
and not my quote. I stole it for somewhere, but I can't remember which trader said it.
I
But the
did.
other thing we were talking about yesterday, when it comes to the Dow and the indexes, the S&P, you have 500 assets there. The Nasdaq you have 100. The
Mhm.
Russell you have 2,000. But on the Dow it's 30. So Jane, for example, was saying, well, if you're going to manipulate something or whatever, it's easier to do it on the Dow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just an interesting perspective. Uh-oh, it seems like we're gonna move up. I hate holding into the open, but I really wanted to catch
Oh,
this initial move.
yeah, you're welcome to pull up your chart there, by the way. It's probably a little more useful than I was just trying to go over your example to glean a
No, no,
little
no.
more
Go
insight
ahead. Go
from it.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead while I look at this and make another, maybe flip my my bias again.
Sure. Well, feel free to switch as soon as you want. Anytime I'm not showing
No
anything,
problem.
and I can just talk. But essentially, I just think that you're just describing a really important concept here. I was taught this through the ICT inner circle trader type framework where they refer to it. They have a silly name for everything. They call it
Yeah.
a six sister setup, which is kind of
Six
grim. It's like
sister.
I don't want to think
Wow.
about my sister being sick. But the idea is like, okay, you have a family, right? All the indices, and one of them ain't acting right, and one
Yeah.
of them says something's wrong, and that tells you something, right? Because if the sister gets sick, well, that might spread to the whole family, right?
Indeed.
If that kind of is a contagion, and like you're talking about, and like Jane was talking about the manipulation aspect. When we say manipulation, it's not some conspiracy. It's just like manipulation in a sense of like there's going to be price action, there's going to be big players, there's going to be areas where they can step in and have more of an effect, and so they're going to use well, they're going to throw their weight around effectively. It's not a
Exactly.
bad thing. It's not, ooh, scary market maker coming to get you,
No,
punching your
no, no,
stock.
not at all.
And I know you weren't saying that, but just it's a word that I know triggers a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like a technical thing. It's like, oh, manipulation in the formation of a candle, for example. You will see the market pull back in the morning of a bullish day sometimes, quite often,
Mhm.
and it will just retest a level of support with that morning liquidity, and it kind of manipulates the move down just only in the intention of finding liquidity to push higher, right? So
Yep.
that's I call that manipulation, not in a tinfoil hat way, but in a hey, if I want to manipulate my body to jump high. I'm gonna first manipulate it down to get energy,
Exactly.
and then that'll
And then
help
spring
propel.
back up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
so yeah, good clarification there. There's no secret hand moving. Well, there might be, but we're not aware.
Well,
At
that's
least we're not saying it that way.
yeah, that's why I think it's just important to like say like, hey, we're not saying anything about the intentionality here. All we're saying
Yeah,
is, hey, there's a mechanical aspect that we can that's reliable. That's what we can track.
exactly. Exactly.
Who knows how they feel about it? Maybe they're like, yeah, we're really sticking it to me to Dave and Steve over there.
Yeah, right.
I hope not. We're pretty
I
nice
hope
guys.
hope not. Yeah, we're pretty nice. We just, we're trying to just get a few bucks out of the market. We're not
Yes,
trying
sir.
to, uh,
Really quick.
change world order.
Really quick, just for spy levels, I think it's worth noting that 75 represents roughly the bottom of the range for this morning kind of session here, or pre-market session. So that to me is like a really defined area. Like, okay, we have the 675 pre-market, or I'm sorry, after hours that we kind of popped right to there before coming down a little bit. Then the pre-market session we popped above it and we retested roughly that dollar zone. So for
Mhm.
me, it's pretty straightforward. I think as long as we hold this, you can entertain just grind up, kind of filling out. I see a little megaphone kind of forming here too. So you could get this
Yep.
pattern kind of building out as long as this holds. But if this loses this kind of zone, I think you can get a really quick air out down to. I'm gonna turn to my volume shelf chart here if it loads. There we go. Making sure my thesis aligns. Yeah, so basically if we lose this kind of higher volume node, the area that it needs to kind of catch in my book, I think we can, yeah, modify it up right here. 675.50, call it 675 just for the round number there, like I said. If this
Yeah.
zone doesn't hold, then we can kind of knife down, I think, down to the 673.75 at the very least.
Nice.
So for us,
So
that's good money, right? That's a nice
yeah,
scalp
that's
right
good.
there. That could be
So we're talking about 6,800 for the first level on the futures, and then about let me
sorry, yeah.
see, 6,760.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I like that 60 handle in particular because it's where we saw the sideways tape a little bit on the way up. Just that little bit of a push up, push down, further push up,
hmm,
forming. I'll draw, whoops, that zone right there. And then usually what you'll see is that is often the 50% of like one of these kind of legs, as well as that'll be where these rising stair stepping triggers of mine will rise up to and form that confluence. So we have those two levels of interest. You also have, like I said, that higher volume node, and those kind of come together. I don't even know what this red line is, but it's something too. So you'll often see
hmm.
these kind of cluster together. And we have 1 minute till the open here. So feel free to switch to the live.
1 minute to the open. Let me switch.
I
One
think you're in a
sec.
trade, right? So
I am in a trade. I flip my bias short. So we'll see what happens. The levels you're talking about, we have that Asia. Give me one sec. Let me get the volume profile of the way. Let me maybe put this on a 5 minutes so it's easier to see. So yeah, the levels Steve is talking about here is this about 6,800 for around, the low of the Asian session was 67.87. So about 6,800 as a first area of interest, and then the other one would be, and that aligns with what I would do, which is 67.63.
mhm.
Oh man. All right. The longs have entered the chat.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So right now we're testing that the
So
volume cluster. I think that yeah, it's gonna be
it's
spicy
gonna
here for a
be
few minutes.
spicy. Yeah, I was hoping to catch a quick move,
Well, hey
but
there.
that's not what we're getting.
Like I can't tell if it's gonna hold the line here, but right now
Yeah,
the
I don't
bears
know.
are rejecting that VWAP, so we might get the little push down right out of the gate.
Yeah, let me get, maybe wait until the close, or maybe not.
For me, these are like gut check shorts where you have to be so fast to say like, "Hey, this is the
Yeah.
cluster." I've just
Or
gotta have faith
let me add a
that it
stop
rejects.
order right there, and
I
then
like.
if it wants to go down, it'll take me.
Yeah. So just let's let's see. To me, it kind of looks like the Bears have the ball. They're going to try to run with it, and we just got to see what that 675 to 675.50 is going to do. I think that right now
Yeah,
it's kind of testing whether it can
it's
move away
testing
from the volume
that
cluster
low
this
here.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But we the idea is, we had a sharp move down here. We tried
Mhm,
to push up. They were kind of oscillating down there. And I think they've been kind of shy with the longs,
mhm.
because my idea is, well, if we were gonna go long, we probably would have made a higher high over there, retested that resistance area, and then kind of continue to oscillate back up higher. So I think the short is probably the trade for the day,
Yeah, and there
and
we go.
so
So
far so good.
we hung out
Hopefully,
at that 675 80 kind of 50 zone just for briefly. Looks like we're just
yep.
powering straight through. We did lose the kind of the capping level there. So the bottom of the pre-market session for me, this is where I think that we get an expansion down. Well, we did get the expansion down here. When this 1 minute candle sets here, it'll create a little imbalance, a little window between the 3 bar pattern. You know what I'm kind of talking
Hmm.
about there?
Hmm.
So yeah, so that expansion that'll be set in just a minute. That's the area where I want to see if we can get a little pop into that window to short for the continuation move down, assuming we can get that, and that would be the 673.50 for me on or on SPY, which on ES
On
would
SPY.
be, I believe that 60 handle. Yeah, 68.6. Oh, let me pull it up here.
68.
Wait, where was it? There it is. 6,800. 6,800.
6800. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the downside target. If we get the opening and the little wick up, I'll call that out. It should be the 6830-ish handle. I'll get that going in just a sec. I wanted to also populate my what do you call it? Gamma exposure profiles in just a second here. So right now this is the handle where really quickly it did just wick back up into that 3 minute bar. Right
Hmm.
now looking like it's pushing down already. You got to be super fast on these.
Yeah, that's the thing. I felt we might get a sharp reaction, so I didn't want to be chasing. I wanted to be in early, and if we were gonna get a sharp move down or a sharp move up, to kind of be there, and hopefully this turns into an all day hold.
Yeah,
Um, we'll see.
nice being able to pivot though, because I was looking at it with like you this morning, going like, hey, I think that we need to sweep liquidity just a little bit more because we have so much momentum. It cooled off a little bit. Now more
And
volume's coming in, so
yeah,
I'd like to see push up then down, but they just said
yeah.
nope, too much, too fast, which I think is
Then
kind of
again, things
bullish.
can switch on a dime. You never
Mhm.
know.
I, I was gonna say like
So
I think it's kind of bullish now, and I think this is probably
yeah.
not saying like get out
No,
of your
no, no,
trade.
no, no. I'm holding the trade. It's probably my last trade today because I've taken already 3 or 4 stabs at it in both directions. So it's probably my last trade, and then I'll hold and reevaluate once we get clearer structure.
Right. Let's see. I'm looking real quick. I think one area which I might take a shot is 6820 if I do see a pop up there and then a nice clean. Oh, hold on a sec.
Yeah, we're around the
6820. Yeah,
68.25 right now.
68. Jeez.
No,
I'm
you're
trying to
fine.
point
You're
at your
fine.
screen here. I'm looking at a bunch of different things. Because my gamma exposure is all in SPX, so I'm thinking
Yeah,
SPX levels. Then
translated.
So I'll have exact levels in just a minute, but essentially this wick up right essentially to where we're at. I'd like to see sellers stepping in on we have the 5 minute candle here. I like the 15 minute pivot. So that's the kind of area if I miss the momentum trade right out of the open, I think maybe I can tag in there. So this very well could have been the 1 minute candle that wick up into the point of control, but I'm just gonna let things play out a little bit more here. I think,
Yep.
yeah, I was in yap mode while you were in execute mode. So great job getting the entry.
Hey, maybe it was good to be in yap mode, and to kind of be patient and wait, because the sharp acceleration that I was expecting up or down has not happened yet.
No.
Usually we get it right off the open, so we'll see. But
It's
it's totally fine.
interesting. So sorry, I just think that you're bringing up such good stuff here that it's worth not glossing over. Like the we have something we're expecting, and then this is the high liquidity window where it's like you can't be married to it. Like you said,
Yeah.
strong conviction held lightly. So this is just the where the rubber meets the road. Where you're watching closely, and where your thesis can change. So I think that I think that just it's important to highlight the like how the sausage is made, so to speak, the thought process, and not so much what might happen in the next 5 minutes, because that's so much less important than just how we're kind of framing, how we look at this going forward. Like just it's not a oh, market was up pre-market, so we short. It's okay, so we're looking for the potential short. We're looking for that kind of trigger. We're looking for the confirmation, that velocity through the drywall, so the effort to match the result, and we're looking for it to all to come together. And
To line up and
Mhm.
take a shot, and
I love it.
see if it works. If it works, great. And if it doesn't work, well, we're getting hit, but not we're not getting hit too hard. We're getting hit with pre-planned exits. So
Right.
totally agree with you there. So yeah, just to run over what I was doing pre-market, the idea was we were in this clear uptrend. Well, of course, we had the blast. Kind of formed this uptrending channel there.
Mhm.
And then if we look at this first high, we pulled back, form a second high that was, equal to this level, pull back again, form the higher high, and then sharply move down. So I was like, okay, maybe we are ready for people to start taking profits and exiting. Maybe we're not going to get that liquidity.
Mhm.
So that's where I took my first stab. But it was interesting. It was quickly bought back up, and then we continued to move sideways. Then I flipped my bias again because we are getting close to the open. So I want to kind of get my direction right, and I want to get it right quick. So I
Oh.
decided, okay, maybe we're going to go and retest those highs. And if yes, then we would go long. And I think that's when we started talking. Then I saw some rejection here. We started to kind of get some wicks and kind of, you see that curl you were talking about
Mhm.
on the oscillators. So I was like, well, we're not, doesn't look like we're cranking up to go higher. So I decided, okay, if we and we're since you've talked about those bottom breakdowns, if we consider this to be a bottom, well, I'm looking for us to lose this level, move down, lose this level, and continue to move down. So
Mhm.
we'll see if we get that, but that could, at least on the lower time frame, it could also be some sort of liquidity sweep there because we sweep these lows and then we revert back up. We do what we just talked about, which is go
Yeah.
get liquidity up there, and then we get the move down. So
Dave,
it is
nothing
what it
makes me
is. We'll see what happens.
I like to think that I'm a pretty rational, logical guy. I like to think I'm not superstitious, but maybe I'm a little stitious because you get like
Not
you start
super,
talking.
but little. I like that one.
You start talking about steel and stuff. I think it's from The Office, like 20 years ago. So I see this as signs of weakness, and like when you're starting to talk about it, it felt like you were summoning it. So I think that we just did the little liquidity run, like you said, that big wick up. What is that telling us? Well, the first thing of interest for me is that push down, it swept the previous level. It formed that new low. And then we did see that little liquidity run back up, but all that it could do was get back to the candle open, then immediately, boom, seller stepped right back in. So I think that's telling us a lot. I think your read is correct. Well, all right, our read is correct with that curl in the morning, and that we are getting the follow through here. We're calling it your read today because I believe you're still in your trade, and I love that. I a few minutes ago I said maybe this is the chance. By the time that candle closed, I said, all right, I'll wait for that 15 minutes at that point. Looks like the 15-minute confirmation might be this flat bottom breakdown that we're looking for here. So we are getting that follow through now. We'll see if in 5 minutes maybe we get a pop back up to my moving averages and I get a chance to enter this trade. But at this point, you know what? I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want
You
to
don't
cook
want to
myself
chase. Yep.
over trying to force something that maybe I just don't have a clean entry on at this point anymore. Usually when I'm
Yeah.
saying maybe this, it's like take the stab, dude, take the shot. Come
Hey, I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. Especially when we're broadcasting, sometimes we
on.
we have to chase a little bit. Yesterday I had to chase. I was looking for the setup, talking to Jane, looking for the setup, and then the setup started. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna chase because you're not super laser focused there, and
Mhm.
it happens. It's part of the game.
I got to do
So
the
let's
Furu
see.
entry and just say like, "Oh, I'm allowed to chase because he's talking. I can say I'm distracted. I
I
hit
like
sell.
that.
If it works, I get to talk about it and say, "Oh, by the way, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I had to take a shot. I had to take it." And if it doesn't work, I say, "Well, hey, that's the name of the game. Sometimes you
That's
miss."
the name of the game. Yeah, use it in your advantage. So here we are at my yellow line, kind of yellow line in the sand. I think if we can remain below this today, we are definitely moving lower. So even though the trade is working, it's moving in our favor, whatever, we're still really close to the open. The opening range hasn't formed yet entirely, meaning we haven't gotten until we get our first pullback and we see some profit taking. I am not, for lack of a better word, comfortable in the trade. So we'll see.
Just another
Well,
thing.
there we go.
That's the 675 buyer that just stepped in off the round
Yeah.
number off SPY. So
So
this
right
might be my
is
entry, but it's
right at
also
that yellow level I had,
yeah, it's a good level. It's a good
like
level for sure.
clockwork.
So right now, this is a move back into the moving averages. I'm looking for, let's see, what is the exact level there? Gonna be, is it the 25? Yeah, the 25, 6 8 25 is roughly where I'd like to see that higher or the lower high get put in. It looks like they're not going to quite reach up to my level where I'd like to get in. That's the 9 minute that it just rejected off of for me. So it's playing nicely for the shorts here. I think that this is a comfortable move down. I'm a little miffed. That was like 3 points away from where I would have pulled the trigger. Because it's whenever you get those wicks up off, it's like, okay, how strong is that 675
Yeah.
cohort of buying? Well, I gotta take my shot off of a level. I can't just say, oh, it went up off of a level, good enough. You
Yeah.
know, well, it would have been good there. So that's where you can kind of just say,
Is
hey, sometimes close enough is good enough. It wicked back in a little bit over the initial 5 minute range of the open, right? So
Yep.
that 5 minute range was violated. It came back and tested it. It wasn't to the penny. I wanted it a tiny bit deeper, but hey, definitely acting like a short still to me until we get down
Definitely
to
acting
ESV WAP.
like a short. Yep.
Hmm.
So I
Yep.
kind of want to take a look at. We're gonna let this cook,
Nice.
like the youngins say now. We're, I have kids, so I hear all those terms all the time. But yeah, I'm gonna let this do what it wants to do. Not gonna. There you go. Not gonna touch it. But I kind of want to look at all the other indexes. I know we have a lot of Nasdaq traders, and
Oh,
look at how
that
nice this
volume.
is
That's
looking.
beautiful, ain't it?
That fall is looking mighty nice right now. So hopefully this continues throughout the day.
Here I'm watching into this 15-minute pivot. So I don't like the setup for long. Sometimes this is where it'll stop me out and it'll do the BS like oh, okay, we have the morning low, we have the sweep under this. For me, if this were to rip long, I would just say, all right, I'll take the stop. I can't predict that. What I think is more likely is this comes up and then rejects somewhere. I want this
Yeah,
point of control here, this little volume node. I'm waiting for my, if in the first 15 to 20 minutes, that's when I start watching my GEX profiles. So I watch the SPY and the XPX levels at this time usually, and then I'll get your conversions for the ES traders as well. So that'll be coming in. Right now we are still in a flag, but I think that we want to just flush out just a little bit. Maybe another what 10, 15 points. So that's
yep.
kind of the what I'm looking to develop here. Still seeing these bottom wicks every time it hits the 9, so it's just not quite deep enough for me to take
For
my
you to
shot.
get in. As
Yeah,
much as I want you to take your shot, I kind of don't want to go too close to these levels because that would be a show of strength to me,
exactly.
and That is how can I say, a picture perfect kind of buying the dip kind of setup right there, where we actually move up way higher and go test those previous liquidity levels we were talking about. So
Mhm.
as much as I want you to get into trade, I don't want to see too much strength. So I want us to kind of stay a little bit below these levels, but we'll see.
Yeah, so it's one thing to note here is like we have this big volume cluster. What you can see is, hey, you can say, hey, here's the bottom of the volume cluster.
Mhm.
You even can be a little more generous and say, hey, okay, here's where the volume really falls off. Well, we did transact that. We did kind of wick back above it. So in my mind, I think path of least resistance, if we're thinking about the way that water might flow, I think now we
Hey,
pop back and we test this kind of high volume node. If we reject there, then that's where I can look to tag in. That's kind of what I was looking for, to just to get this gap fill to the pre-market session, and then I think it needs to chop rebase, could very easily renegotiate and hang back out up here. So it's at this point, it's like, all right, if I didn't catch that really quick rejection where you did, essentially, now I've got to be very, very, you know, I got to pinpoint my spot. So we are coming up to it. I
definitely.
just, like you're saying, this is spooky strong. If we
It
lose this
is.
swing high as well, then yeah, it's there's like no real setup for me here because I think we go higher, but I don't see the clear shot. If we just squeeze straight up like this, then what can you do really? So you could, I could blind short this, but it doesn't feel good. I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
doesn't
that's a
feel
smart thing to
doesn't
do. You
doesn't
know,
feel right.
so for me, probably no trade at all here until we get further clarity. I hope this
Yeah.
rejects off you here, and this would be the correct short off of the VWAP. It's just strong enough that I'm fine with saying, hey, I don't need. I think my
You
edge
know,
gets diminished playing
yeah.
into this spike, essentially.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. We're seeing a good amount of strength there. So we'll see. We'll see. We're about what is it? 7 minutes till 10 o'clock, which hopefully plays in our favor to the downside. And this when that new hourly candle opens,
Yeah.
and that London session starts tapering off.
And
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Dave,
I'm okay. My stops are where they need to be, and I'll take a full loss if I need to.
no, I love it, and I just wanted to say that you mentioned something really important with thinking about that 15-minute pivot and how I think you could very well be right. This might be the manipulation that we're talking about, manipulating it back
Yep.
up into that pivot here just in time for, okay, now we have the new cohort of sellers coming in because we got this candle kind of flipping. Not saying anything yet, but that's just kind of how I look at it, right? Just these, okay, these are these breakpoints where you have breakpoints for levels horizontally for
Mhm.
price. You also have them for these candle confirmations. Whoa, and look at that.
That
Holy.
is exactly why on a day like today that I've picked my spot, I've entered the trade. I don't want to be ping ponging back in and out, in and out, in and out. Otherwise, I'm gonna
Mm,
lose my mind. I did it pre market, picked two or three spots. None of them worked out, so I have my final spot there, and then the rest is in the hands of the market because it's one of those days where you could get anything. Is it going to be a sell the news day where we've moved up sharply and we're pulling back? Is it going to be that manipulation to the upside we're talking about? Is that what we're going to get? Or is it going to do something none of us thought of, and just we're like, okay, we never thought of that. So that's why I don't want to be ping ponging in and out. I picked my
mhm.
spots, and we'll see what happens. But definitely seeing a lot of strength coming in there, more than I would like. So we'll see.
I think that's the name of the game here. Like when you're scalping too, it's like you don't want to see a candle this size go against you, even if
Yeah.
it might be the best thing in the world. Like I still think that this could be like a really good place to short, just in a sense that, hey, we showed an incentive to break this topping rate or this range, show that this is a distribution short term in the process of, we got the nice move up. Now we're running a little stretched. Liquidity's coming in. We get the initial move down. We're coming back to VWAP, and now I think that this is probably logically not a bad place to short. It's just it feels bad because if you're wrong, you'll be wrong pretty fast and pretty hard. So you got to
Yeah.
have that quick stop right over that level. But to me, yeah, talking about it being a short, I think that I should have shorted instead of yapped again. Probably. You know what? At this point, I've moved on
Yeah,
mentally. I'm
it's never perfect. You never know. Yeah, exactly.
look at it
Hey,
here. Yeah, look,
maybe we'll
we're
get
just
another
scrolling.
opportunity. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we had this
We'll
little
see.
red line here. I said, "Hey, I want it up here," and then it gave me an even better entry off the VWAP, and the volatility is a little spooky.
It's all spooky. It's all spooky.
All right, I'll
We'll
be
have
I'll
to
be
wait and
brave
see.
if we get a wick back up to the VWAP again and sell off again and get a 1 minute candle confirmation. Fine, I'll take a little tiny nibble because I do think that we get this fill just to fill the gap down here, and I think that's a good buffer. Like, okay, we get in short here, we take a little bit off here, and we wait, and then there's a potential for that little base hit to turn into $5 move to 670. I think.
Let's see what we get. I wanted to get your opinion on gold, if you have any, because I know yesterday we had a lot of people shorting gold, and then well, a lot of people have gotten stopped based off of that result that we have yesterday.
I think that it's less of a clear signal really short term, like in the next week or so. We did not get that squeeze. Haha, we did get the grind up, not the squeeze. So, what I think is that it made the big stick save on the monthly level where it really needed to.
Okay.
This yellow level here, the 400, was a multi-month pivot where we wicked up there. Just very key level of interplay. We did hold strong wick up. Now we're posting more wicks up here. I believe that it's doing the right thing, and right now it just needs to chill and kind of waffle around. It did the thing. It got the sweep high above this daily trigger here. For me, this is pretty much a confirmed uptrend. We just have to kind of pick your spot if you want to get long. I like the wick back to yesterday's close there. So that's going to align with a low volume node. On GLD, that's 632. On GC, the futures contract, that is going to be just about 4775,
Okay.
4780, right around there on the GC contract.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be the big pivot. I think that we busted above it, and now if we can come back and test it, we can keep kind of stair stepping on higher to the next big 5,000 to 5,100 kind
Yeah,
of thing.
so my I have this big inflection line at 5100, and me, I'm like, okay, if as long as we're above call it 5,000 or 5,100, this is where we're like, okay, rip your face off. We are definitely bullish. We are going to JP Morgan $6,000 level, even 6,500. I've heard some people call for at least late 2026, early 2027. But as long as we're remaining under it, I think we're still in. We're not behaving like the safe haven asset yet. We're just waffling around and seeing what to do. Oh, interesting look. I've never thought of looking at it like that.
Well, I'm just thinking, just based off what you're saying, I totally agree, and I'm just thinking, okay, so here's our big top range for sure. You know, like clearly, if we're ripping through this, like you said, well, what's the next stop? Yeah, 6,000, 6,500. Sure, totally. I'm 100% with you. I think that we do get there. How we get there, it could
Hmm.
take some time. You know, like I said, like you said, under the big level. For me, I said we're over the big level, right? So
Yeah,
we're we're in the chop box. We're in the
definitely.
consolidation. Okay, so what do consolidations do? They either get tight on both sides, or which way is my camera going here? I was doing the opposite. Basically, it's a pennant, right? You know,
Yeah.
so the volatility contracts,
Hmm.
or you get that the kind of more sideways action over like a flag, where it is going to be lower lows and lower highs, but it's not a panicked selling. It's just a consolidation like
It's
that.
just
So I just think,
moving
okay,
up and down.
we have this downtrend line, and then these two wicks, they kind of make a downtrend line. Seems like path of least resistance, probably some kind of choppy channel. So as long if we get another look of like perhaps a test of this 4,000 level, that would be really really clean. That would be a little bit of a sweep of the previous low into support. Maybe go under just a little 3,900. This is where I'd really like. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, this shouldn't go. It shouldn't go that low anymore.
That's what I was
Yeah, never mind.
gonna tell you. So you're because I'm expecting more upside, at least in the short term. before any more downside. But hey, I could be totally wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm thinking out loud here. So you're right. It shouldn't come back down here. This was the big sweep out, like I said before, on the monthly level. The higher low that I would like to see, I think, would be off this weekly trigger now. Call it 4,500. That'd be the big round number. And again, I'm not sure we get it. Like you said, we might just need to go up first and then back test.
Retest that
Yeah, here,
inflection area
like
and
this.
then continue higher. Yeah.
So that's funny. So this level would be if we come down and then we bang our head on the top of this downtrend line,
Hmm.
pull back and then push out. It's kind of funny if you just shift up and say, hey, first we need to push up and test this zone, then come back and test where we're at now. Well, then it kind of just aligns with, instead of the other way, okay, now we're bonking our head there, pushing above and then back testing that
Yeah.
flag break. And
And that would be super bullish,
Super
for lack
Bowl,
of a
yeah.
better term. Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of just like these different degrees of like how it could go depending on how the velocity of these kind of moves out of the gate here. But in general, I think gold it's tricky because it kind of fulfills multiple things right now, right? Because it traditionally is this kind of risk off asset that should be doing very well in war situations, but it's we're seeing it trade mostly with the market, mostly in risk
Indeed,
on
mostly.
basket, but
Yeah.
it's also like not as explosive as tech today, for example.
Yeah.
So there's just something to note there that when money's super risk on, they are not going to gold, and when money's super risk off, they're definitely not going to gold. So when are we going to gold
That's
if
the
we don't have
question. When are we
power?
going to go? Because it hasn't been behaving, at least for, in my opinion, the way I would have expected it to behave. Even when the war happened, there we
Yeah.
where you had that initial down move right on top. It's right on top of that exclamation point. We had that initial down move right there. Exactly. That's when Operation whatever it's called started, and then we had this sideways action and this complete sell off. I did not expect this complete sell off that we got after the war. So I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah, look what happened between these two vertical lines that you mentioned, or well, you mentioned this one, the start of it, basically.
Yeah.
This is, when we get the AOK for the 2 weeks rest period at
Yep.
least. This is okay.
What is
So
this? I
yeah,
can't
so
like. I
what
don't get
meta is
it.
this? Yeah. So in the market meta right now, apparently, if you go to war, the geopolitical safe haven, the macro, volatility buffer of gold that it's been trading like for decades, it goes to show like, okay, when you have a setup that's so long in the making, gold and the precious metals complex was setting up for this bullish run that it's been on for a decade, multiple decades, you
Yeah,
know, that becomes such a driving force that it can decouple you from everything, even from
that's
like,
crazy.
just like a colloquial like knowledge of the market. Like, oh, if there's geopolitical tension, you buy gold. Well, not no more.
That's the logic. I was like, where does the money go? Because you're looking at everything, and everything was correlated. You're looking at it's like, okay, it's not in gold. Did it go to Bitcoin? No. Did it go to equities? No. Did it go to uh treasuries? No. The only thing, I mean, the dollar was the only strong thing. So was everybody in cash basically?
Mm,
I guess that's the
yeah.
only thing. The only logical explanation for me is that everybody went to cash and they're just sitting waiting to redeploy. Because I didn't get, we were selling off everywhere.
Absolutely. You made me think it's time to check that ratio chart. Here's the Bitcoin over gold ratio chart here. And what I'm seeing is
What's
if this
that?
was a big
3.2?
level. What's that?
No, I
Three?
was just trying to see the number 3.2.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the 3 billion there, 3 billion market cap. I don't really worry about the number too much. It's definitely more of a ratio thing for me.
Yeah.
And just I'm a vibes trader in some ways, and this is one, it's like
I
just I
like it.
just want to see the vibe of like this
Yeah.
ratio. The vibe for me is like, man, that was a wicked drawdown
Yeah.
for Bitcoin relative to gold, which you love to see it. Nature's healing. But then now we are seeing sideways action for a month now, and for me, it to me looks like this is probably in a bottoming range, but that doesn't mean that we can't, have 3 weeks of underperformance here or something to form a higher low before maybe we do something like that. Maybe we trade in this sideways range for longer.
maybe.
You know,
Or
so
maybe we
so
get one of those bottoming W patterns and revert back up. I mean,
you're jumping ahead of me, Dave. Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I would hope to play out. And so I'll be
yeah.
looking for if Bitcoin underperforms gold for a few weeks, maybe that gives us an entry for Bitcoin itself. I I am not sure. So I think this is good though, because I thought this was a bear flag on Bitcoin. Now
Yeah.
it's starting to feel like I think what's more likely is that this is getting invalidated, and it's less of that, and it's more of a nice. Come on, give me my shape. There we go. A nice curled bottom base
Yeah.
that's starting to be the predominant thing that I'm watching here.
Okay.
So it's the battle of these two structures on the higher time frame. But to me, starting to feel like this is bullish. So maybe it still rejects this falling moving average here, but it forms a higher low. It catches in this big volume node, or maybe it sweeps just a tiny bit under 65 500 to 6600. Maybe it just holds at 6800, but essentially that's kind of the floor that I'd be looking to hold. As long as that happens, you can see that ratio chart start to kind of flip over. This can push up, and we might that might be. I mean, it's just hard because then it's like I guess that would be the trigger to say, all right, Bitcoin is the risk on
Risk on
asset.
asset. Yeah. It's
It's
like,
like the
and
most risk on, you know.
most
So
risk on, you would probably see tech follow as well. And then gold continue to hover sideways until,
that's what I'd hope,
money
right? And I think
flows,
that would
money
be
flows
helpful.
back in.
And so then gold could trade sideways while we're super bullish. And in my mind that's nature healing too because it's starting to kind of get back to the macro thing that pin or that that makes sense that it's a
Yeah.
scarcity thing. It should go up when the market is scared, but it just hasn't because it's been trading like it's Bitcoin. So that would to me be like a nature's healing type moment. I would like to see that outperformance in Bitcoin. And one thing sorry, is that coming through on my end?
A little bit, but you're fine.
So I have no idea what that was. I apologize.
It's Bitcoin calling you to say, "Hey, get ready, get ready."
The CEO of Bitcoin having something to say. So basically, what I've been rambling at is that for quite a while now, for a couple months, I've been looking at the ratio charts. I've been looking at Bitcoin and gold's chart, and nothing has been super clear to me. I shorted Bitcoin, made some money. My runners got stopped out, break even. I didn't try to long. I have a friend who did, made some money, got stopped out on his runners. So there's that indecision. So when I'm kind of game planning, like how I just laid out, like what we kind of talked about,
Mhm.
that's the kind of how these two puzzle pieces kind of lock into place for me. And it's like, oh, I could see that making sense to me. There's
Making
not any
sense.
kind
Yep.
of just outlier that's like, it's like what do I do with this piece? This is like goes to a different puzzle or something. So
Yeah.
when you kind of can start seeing everything kind of come together, that's usually when a thesis is more valid and you can actually kind of rely on that. So yeah, the thesis here, Bitcoin will kind of carve out its bottom here and start to act as a risk on asset as gold will kind of chill. It can trade sideways while the market goes up. Then if the market needs to go down, even if it's just a higher low, chilling out a little bit, like you talked about off that tariff day, if we're kind of
Hmm.
looking at that as a template,
Hmm.
big 5%, whatever move up, then it came back down 3%. That was the real entry. So that's what we're kind of looking at as well. If so, then yeah, Bitcoin can lead, gold can chill and go sideways. Then when the market needs to come down a little, then gold can get its move up then. Maybe in 2 weeks when we see that the what do you call it?
The whatever's gonna happen, are we gonna get a burrito, a taco, or what kind of other? Maybe we're gonna switch to Asian food now.
Okay,
We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see what we get.
Your Stir
But yeah,
Friday, just get
yeah.
crazy every Friday, just stir things up. Yeah, I'm
So
in.
we'll see what we get there. We also have to watch because, by the way, I'll be with you on Trade to Pool Friday,
Ooh, awesome.
if you know, for CPI. So
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens there. We're gonna get our Fed talking today at around. Wait, is it at 10 or at 1?
My
There's an
let me know.
FOMC talk today. Let me just check real quick. By the way, the short has been working not as well as I would have hoped because I was looking for a meltdown. I could just show you. Oh, we have a question here that maybe you want to take on,
Yeah,
Steve. He says, "Can you explain more risk on versus
yeah,
risk off
totally,
assets?"
totally, totally. So when you hear risk on versus risk off, it's kind of confusing. And I've been doing this a long time. And so, Dave, I also get my lefts and my rights mixed up sometimes. So it's easy to get them reversed. So essentially, if the market is risk on, it's got an appetite for risk. You can think about it. It's like there's a big switch on the wall of the stock exchange. Everybody goes into the market in the morning, goes into the office, and they're like, "What's the news? What's the word, Bob? What are we doing today? Oh, well, we're buying. We're risk
Yeah.
on. The risk is on. Big old green light over the risk. It's like we're doing this. We're doing this. So some people go like, oh, the risk is bad. It's on. That's scary. It's like we're psyched.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
taking risks. That's the way to look at it. We're taking risks. It's the time to take risk. It's the time to speculate. It's the time to buy tech. It's the time to buy things that are contingent on a healthy, growing economy and not something worried about I don't know. Let's see a hawkish rates environment where you're expecting rate hikes, for example. When you're expecting rate hikes, it's harder to look forward a year and say, "Hey, my tech company, my software as a service company, is going to do phenomenally." So that's the kind of way you can look at the risk on or off. So when it's a risk off environment, you'll see things like defensives do very well, like utilities, like often energy do well, or maybe healthcare in certain environments. Anything that kind of is a lifeboat or insulates you from the risk of the things that will get hurt the most if we rip out that liquidity from the market, if we rip out like the risk appetite, so to speak. So if everybody stops buying tech because they think that we're going to get a bunch of rate hikes, and the prognosis for inflation is up, and the cost of getting money going forward and expanding your tech company starts getting repriced and getting a lot more expensive, well, that risk is going to go from on to off, and then you're going to start seeing that money going into the safer place. So, is there anything else that jumps out to you, Dave, that I might be missing?
Yeah, that I was trying to think of an analogy, like a real
Mhm.
life analogy to kind of explain what that means. So, I was trying to think, okay, risk on, risk off, what do you say? But it's like the difference between taking safer bets and taking less safe bets. So,
I
so
got
if you
one.
think, okay, let's
Uh,
hit me.
all right. So I'm a happily not married, happily taken man, but in my single days, well, some days I'd go out and I just didn't have a lot of confidence. And so some days my risk would be off. I wouldn't be trying to talk to as many people. I wouldn't be trying to make as many connections and network, and to just be my inhibitions would be a little higher. Some days I needed that catalyst. I needed that Jerome Powell in the purple tie coming out and saying, "Hey, everything's actually pretty sweet."
Yeah,
Like if it that for me that's a drink. It's a drink or two.
yeah,
I'm not saying drinking's a great thing. It's better to have confidence on your own, but hey, catalyst is a catalyst, right? If all of a sudden you have a chemical that makes your brain go, "Hey, I'll take some more risk," all of a sudden I'm over there talking to just about anybody. That can be
yeah.
good. That can be bad. I can also hurt myself by getting too risk on.
To
So
risk on,
too a
exactly.
little too turned, as the
Yeah.
kids would say. So I think that would be kind of my metaphor there. So you have something kind of greasing the wheels, kind of making things easier. In that bullish dovish environment, SPY still is looking like it's chopping lower to me. This
Spice jumping lower. I'm diamond handing that thing today, but it's yeah, I could maybe pull up my screen a little bit to show
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm
where
yeah.
we're on. By the way, Naresh, thank you for the question. Let us know if you understood, and if not, we could just go over it again. You have us for another hour, so if we have to take an hour to explain this, uh, we'll do it all day because we're here playing this super video game right now
And it
and
really is.
trying to
It really is.
extract some money off of it. All right, so
They're
let's
not making
clean
it
up.
easy, Dave. Sorry,
They're
sorry,
not
I'm
making it
stepping on
easy.
you.
I thought we were just gonna get, a rock and a drop right there, but they're just not making it easy. And somebody was shorting at that 60, 68,
Mhm.
16 level because I saw a sharp drop, but they just bought it right back up. I'm seeing volume come in. So my diamond hands are starting to transform into paper hands,
I gotta say, yeah, like as you always say, hold
because
that conviction lightly. Watch the sweep of the previous little swing high there, the level you noted, that seller. If that seller gets
yeah.
backed off, it could have been basically a running it down to a larger buy order down below, and we're seeing the
Yeah.
kind of footprint of that, the fossil of
So
that,
I
right?
kind of want to, I really want to start to flip long actually,
I
because
I don't blame you.
that bias of, hey, maybe we could just revert back to the upside. I felt that we should have, if I consider this box to be my standard deviation, we
Yeah,
should have gone and tested the low, at around the 67.90 level already. It's 10 o'clock. We're 30 minutes into it. We're very shy. And then I've been looking at other assets. I've been looking at the Dow, and the Dow is trading above VWAP. So it's been above VWAP the whole time, which is a bullish sign. I've checked
absolutely.
out the Qs. The Qs are there's a lot more volatility. They've moved down, but I haven't seen the huge moves that I usually see, and we've only moved 200 points. Um, yes, 200 points on a regular day is a decent move, but in these war times where we're getting 1,000 point days, you know I shouldn't gotten more displacement at least 30 minutes into it. We should have gone and tested that $25,000 level already. So it's becoming harder and harder for me to hold this trade, and I definitely want it to be the last trade of the day. But if we get this huge melt up, I kind of would kick myself if I missed it. So I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
this point where you're like, okay, what's the decision? Do I give it more time? So
Well,
I'll give it a little bit more time. I'll start managing my risk. So I'll do one contract to break even, and maybe I should just take one off.
I think that's personally, me myself personally, that's how I'd manage it. Just because like on the 1 minute, you're starting to see that kind of curl, the kind of curling
Yeah,
potentiality for like, all right, that's 2 5 minute wicks there in a row where it failed to push lower. I
yeah.
think and also we did get the fill from the previous pre-market close or aftermarket close. So the session closed what after
The
hours.
low for, yeah, after hours. Sorry, I was just focused on my thing there. So we could look at the daily. I didn't get the numbers.
Well, it
But
was after hours on
sorry.
SPY, so we got the big push up after hours on SPY, and it was just like a little fill of that area, and we did find a buyer stepping in.
Yeah,
Then where you noted that seller, I mean, I saw it too. That seller got walloped. He was not able to transact a new low after trying to step back.
exactly.
So I think that was the sign. And now I think we're seeing that kind of starting to play out on the 5 minute with those two wicks. I personally, yeah, I'd take one off and then
Yeah, I
take a
just
break,
did.
flex
Full
on
this.
that
I
second.
just I just took one contract off.
Nice. Good
So
trade.
I'm still in the trade. I still want to be in the trade in case this is a, fake move, and then we just do what I think we were supposed to do and kind of move down. But yeah, we're being cautious right now, because after this, so the theory is what we got this huge move down on this candle, right?
Mhm.
We should have seen at least one or two candles of follow through after this if we were really bearish, but we saw immediate buying after it. Um, so in my opinion, this is not a very bearish sign. We've touched a significant level. We were exactly where I consider my inflection to be, which is
Mhm.
815. We're kind of reconquering it there. We're really close to VWAP. So not a lot of bearish signs so far. We'll see.
Uh, Absolutely. I just wanted to pull up one thing as well.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
gonna flip to the
Real
screen
quick,
right now.
just yeah, this is yeah.
Whoa.
Sorry to flashbang you there with a ton of
No, go,
numbers.
go.
What's important is the center of the screen. This is a live GEX tracker, gamma exposure profile tracker, and so what it's telling us is this is representing the intraday contracts, the 0 day contracts that have been sold by market makers to speculators like well me. So the gist here is that what we're seeing is in the same way as a volume profile, we're going to want to like run up to the big level, the biggest level, acts as kind of a magnet. This is kind of like a hidden magnet on the market. I mean, no big shocker. 6,800 is our big pin here. If I flip to my SPX chart, we can see we are still 25 points under 6,800. 6,800. I think that this is a pretty straightforward trade here. You know, if you have patience and you can weather a little bit of shaking, which I think we kind of just did this morning. I think
Hmm.
that we kind of cleared the road here on this little pullback down to the level where you mentioned, hey, if it was going to go lower, it should have, right? So
Yeah,
we found a buyer after a big move up. I think we've started to kind of cool off those hourly oscillators that in the morning were running a little hot, and the pull is up to 6,800 by tomorrow, I would say. So that's kind
nice.
of what I'm looking at there. You're just
Let's.
not seeing the incentive to move it lower. It's 66,700. There was a node, but this has been starting to pull back just a little, and we'll look for that to continue. And 66,700 is pretty far down now at this point. So if that magnet kind of starts to or keeps going down. Oh, sorry. I thought I was. I just realized I was sharing my window. I popped over to the SPX a few times. The only important level is just yeah, SPX or sorry, SPX 6,800 is about 10 points over the swing high this morning, and then 6,700 significantly far down. So if
Yeah.
we're losing momentum before we get anywhere close to that 6,700, I think so we start to curl over or sorry curl under and then go back up to that 6,800 pivot or magnet, I should say.
So yep. So again, right now I have taken. I've closed out my my short, and I have flipped long. I know I said I would take one, just one. Oh,
Sorry about
sorry.
that. Getting
Let me go back to mine. Yeah.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
It's probably too early, but we'll see.
I think it's a decent
Um,
time of day. I mean, it's like 15 minutes, a half an hour after that kind of like where I'd be looking for that momentum to switch, which is basically what we got. I think
we'll see.
decent. Yeah, bottom at 7
We'll see.
for
We'll see
for,
if
for me.
we.
5 minutes before 7, so 5 minutes before 10 there
Yeah.
market time. Yeah, that's viable in my book.
So we'll see if we get the continuation. I'm looking for, now some type of a short, we could call it short squeeze. So
Mhm.
fast, sharp moves to the upside, risking kind of those previous lows there. Now, I never just for you guys to know, you always see me put my stops way. So let's say, for example, I'm risking 1.5 R, which is my R is $100. So I'm risking two R's and my stop is way down there. That doesn't mean that's where I'm going to stop out. This is just a protective stop because depending on how price moves, even if it tests these lows again, I might decide to hold. It just depends. This is just a safety because if we have Mr. Orange Avenger decide to tweet while we're trading and we get, 1,000 1,000 point candle, I just want to be safe. So we'll
Love it.
see. But all right. Narish Pradin saying, "Thank you so much for explaining." Of course, our pleasure, our pleasure.
Yeah, of course.
That's what we're here for, to let us know how we're thinking, how we're seeing the market, so you guys get different perspectives, and hopefully see some good trading and some profit taking, or you see what not to do.
Yeah, well, that's yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I mean, we're we're being I guess modest, but Dave, you know what you're talking about. But more often than not, you'll see what you should do, and if not, well, like I always say, if a trade doesn't work, that should work. That's data too. If
yeah,
we miss
exactly.
something, and usually we don't, well, that's it's probably something worth. There's some lesson to be learned there, you know. So I think we're always learning from our mistakes. Like, hey, we maybe we jumped the gun just a little bit. I still kind of think that we're right, but hey, if we're wrong, we're wrong, and that's we learned something from that too. I
Exactly.
see the high or low here, and just having a hard time into that neckline. So we'll see that 868 15 68 20 kind of level. We'll see if we can flip that and just make a higher low, or if this is an actual liquidation here, and
Yeah, it might be.
we had the right idea but didn't hold quite long enough. I think yeah, look, there's buyers there. I think that we're not crazy for thinking that this is an area of interest here.
Yeah. And just to give you guys a visual reference there, this we'll put this an orange line. This is kind of the line in the sand there where, all right, we should definitely be out and not holding this any longer. So we'll see what happens. will now be patient on the flip side.
I like it.
So, yeah. Now, you talked since we're talking about finding intraday opportunities and patterns, et cetera, et cetera. You
Mhm.
talked about. Do you remember that Robin Hood setup you had
Yeah.
where you shorted the bottom? I would love for you to show that live again. I really like that.
Yeah, it's an example of one that didn't work, but I made money off
Hey,
it. So, I mean,
these are
if it
valid.
doesn't work and you make money, did it not work? I don't
Did it
know.
not work?
I don't know. Well, we'll talk about it. So I'm proud of trades like this because, you know, it's easy to be right and it just works and oh, easy, nice. I only did one right thing. I just made the right call and didn't have to get tested. So if I make the wrong call but I make money, well then I don't know. I did something. So first off, let's frame the trade here on the weekly. This thing is essentially the proxy for retail sentiment, right? If Hood's getting beat, so is all of every other darling that they talk about on FinTwit, all the SoFis, all the opens, stuff like that. All the Coinbases, all
Hmm.
that stuff. They also move with crypto. Crypto's been getting beat too, so it's been kind of easy money to short this after it lost this kind of topping pattern here. Call it losing 100, starting to roll. I thought it was doing a head or a left shoulder, a big head here, and potentially a right shoulder. That's where I'll be looking to short again in a couple weeks probably. If it can kind of, I was thinking, hey, maybe this is all it needed. That's kind of silly. It needs probably a bigger one like that, just like this one had a bigger one like that. So that's kind of where my head's at. I think. Yeah, I think that this has a decent amount of room, and essentially, it's playing with this 76 to 77 kind of high volume node, the bottom of this area. You can see on the right side. If it can breach above that, it runs very quickly up to this trigger, up to this uptrend line, up to this high volume node at 94 to 100. So what I was looking for into this level, though, I was looking at it in this kind of area where it was putting top wicks into the bottom of this flat zone. It
Hmm.
came down, came back up to this uptrend line, which was just a line that we drew from major lows. So it puked down to there, got a little bounce up, and then it started chopping up there until this trigger caught up. When the trigger and this yellow moving average caught up, you can see that there were sellers just waiting for that to push it on down. Easy trade down. I didn't take there. So this was like one of the latest hedges I put on. This isn't like perfectly optimal short. That would have been, hey, daily trigger was coming down. There's this uptrend line. There's this yellow moving average, all combining in this 8150 to 8450 zone. That would have been the clean short, right? I see that in
Hmm.
retrospect. When I saw it, we're trading down here, kind of knocking on heaven's door. Well, or the opposite, I should say. This monthly trigger, it's big stair step level. So if you flush this, you're in trouble. It also takes a while, though. You can oscillate around here in a big range before you kind of make a decision about whether you're going to hold
Yeah.
or lose this. So I thought that we were losing it. We got the pop back into the 9, so that blue moving average. I like the cloud between my 9 moving average and my 21. So that's this. If this cloud's blue, we're traditionally bearish. If it's yellow, for me, we're traditionally in an uptrend here. Blue is over the yellow, and see you can see when it flips. Hey, that had been big picture, pretty good place to short. So just a good kind of really quick and dirty way to visualize whether you're in an uptrend or not. So as you can see, we flipped it with power, but we are near the low of that. So something to note that even on this up day where SPY is having such a great day, there is relative weakness in the stocks that I'm short. I'm not short this anymore. I got stopped out after hours yesterday. I saw the news. I was like, all right, I'm done. I waved the flag. It was like up. I think we can look. What was it? I think I caught it relatively quick at like 72 or something, but still, I mean, we're not too far from where we're at right now, actually. So That was the stop out. The entry was these 2 days, basically recognizing somewhere in this wick. So I think about 73 and then about 72. So the cost base is 72.50 roughly. So roughly break even on that. I think I was down a few percent on that runner. We were monetizing into the 66 and under, 66, 65-ish kind of. Took a little bit off there. So the setup here, I'm rambling again.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I need another cup of coffee. So yeah, trading back into this, we got the bottom wicks into, or the top wicks into this falling 9 day. So yeah, 673.50 roughly, and 72.70, something like that. Looking for the flush down. We had another uptrend line. This was like the ultimate uptrend line, just going from the actual bottom of this August 24 flush out. I thought that this would be a nice kind of area because it also aligned with 50 and with this high volume node down here. And I thought that we would undercut that, maybe go flush down here to the point of control as well. This high volume shelf, all that, yada, yada, yada. I still think that there's a
Okay.
decent chance that it works its way down there after it
Okay.
comes up here, but it could take months. Different setup. We'll be looking for that later down the road. What we can really say is, hey, that we had this big range between the tariff lows and the swing high. We came back to the 50%. We dipped under it for a few days, but we found buyers. So that's kind of like how I think it's invalidated now.
Got it.
Yeah, but we were looking for
Interesting.
that. And also the other reason this was the target is just like you often look for these kind of boxes, right? These kind of measured moves.
Yeah.
For me, let's see. Where's my measuring tool? There's my measuring tool. So taking the high of this consolidation range
Mm-hmm.
and the low of this consolidation range. Let's see, 18%. It doesn't look that big, but that's 18%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially make the bottom of this range the halfway mark. So I'm going to just mouse down, mouse down, mouse
So
down.
yeah, two ranges down. I
Yeah,
mean, one range
exactly. So
down.
this is the bottom of the range, and you can see that aligns right there. Also, you have the fib there with 55-ish roughly. Yeah, 55 plus the 6.2 fib plus that measured kind of range move. That'd be the kind of area where it would be the target if this kind of breakdown played out. Dave, one really cool thing though that I always like to do is I bet you anything where this kind of caught was the
Mm-hmm.
1.27 extension fib of that same range, and I'll explain that. So as I draw it here, I'll explain. We're going to draw that same range and project it downwards. And I'll also zoom in for y'all. So you can see the measured move 2 times that range right in the center of that
Mm-hmm.
circle. You can also see a few other very interesting things, though, when we pull this range up. So first off, where did it find buyers? Where did it start bottom wicking? Right there to the penny,
Right
that
there.
1.27 fib. So
Interesting.
so that's essentially that's the level where it can kind of catch, and it's like the last line of defense for bulls, because otherwise we're getting the full measured move. This breakdown of this range is going to play out down to either the 1.6 or the 2 extension. That's kind of the two areas where you'll get that momentum to kind of stall out at. Well, if you can hold this line though, then you can kind of slingshot your way back and retest the equilibrium of the previous range we traded in.
Nice.
So see, and there's the 50% move, the
Yeah.
50% equilibrium. You can just see that. Oh well, that's clearly where the sellers were, as well as that 50-day moving average, just to the penny there. That was a great short. So that's kind of how I look at this thing. And now I'm sitting here going, all right, well, all I know is that it swept the bottom, it popped. Now it's in the middle of the range. It's trying to reclaim this. It's probably messy. It's probably not going to be a super clean trade because I didn't get the clean short off of this equilibrium slash that. That's how I would look at the hood setup here, and just why I took it and why I think that I was wrong, and now why I think that I don't know what the heck's going on. But I made some money, so that's okay. I
There
don't
you
really
go.
care.
There you go. If it makes money, it makes sense. S N
Uh-huh.
Z.
I
There you
like
go.
it. Makes dollars make
So
sense.
there you go. There you go. Um, yeah, I like that setup because these are
Just
you
checking in
know
there.
no problem. These are setups that I take myself as well. Shorting bottom sometimes. By the way, I'm back in the short.
I was gonna say, hey, just
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about
back in the
pivoting, it looks
short.
like it
Added to the
failed that
short.
that point of control at 675.
Yeah.
So
I was watching it. It's a classic. We just saw. I could just show you guys why I changed my opinion. Um, and like I say, strong opinions lightly held.
like
But now we're definitely risking off of this previous high there, and even this this stop. We can move closer because I really want this to follow through sharply and not consolidate too much.
yeah, I like that.
So yeah, so the idea is what if I zoom into a lower time frame? I got a bunch of lines there. Let me get some of them out of there. But this yellow line is my inflection point. This is where we bounced off of. We broke through there and then reversed back, and then we kind of started to find sellers here.
Yeah,
And this area corresponds to roughly the morning, the morning range. So we want to stay and maintain below that range,
yeah,
maintain our price action below that range. So we tried to push up one. So once we reached there and I saw the buying, I kind of flipped long and saw a first push up, a second push up. We were not able to push. So that's when I decided, okay, let me flip my bias and then gradually started adding to the position because I am convinced, and I might be proving wrong, but it's fine. I'm convinced that we're going
there
to
we go.
get a sharp move down,
There
right?
you go. You just
And
had
I
to.
want to see a sharp move down, and I want to, in order for me to get out now of this short, I want to see volume that kind of matches what we saw this morning on this wick. So until the volume bars kind of get really, really high and we see heavy buying, I really want to hold this.
I like
So
it.
we'll see if that plays out. And then the other checks I had in my favor are, well, this is a 1 minute chart, but the other checks in our favor are, well, we're right at that orange line that I talked about for a stop. Let me get that out of there. That kind of lined up with where Steve was saying we could start taking profit. So the 6,800 area. um,
That's what I would like.
yeah.
And
So
so
we'll
this is
see
another area
if
or
we get a
kind of
pullback
interesting
there or
thing.
not. Yeah.
Just like in the same way we were talking about the SPY versus ES, that kind of the zone created by the two different levels. Well, it's just interesting seeing a really key number, a really key handle on ES versus SPX, creating a bracket as well. Essentially, we're trading between 6,800 ES to the downside up to 6,800 SPX to the upside, and that kind of
Yeah.
caps the range to both
That
sides.
bracket you were talking about. Yeah, exactly.
So
So
I think that what we're
super
seeing there
interesting
is
there.
basically they're both magnets
Hmm.
and they're both operating on different equities which are tied to the same essentially underlying.
Underlying.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
it's kind of a push pull that kind of keeps us in that range until if we break one or the other, we can see a big expansion down. But until then, we're just like checking back and forth.
We're just checking back and forth. Yeah.
But I think you're dead on
Um,
this. This wants to go lower, and
so
it's
yeah,
probably a
hopefully
pretty
there.
steep
And
up.
then we had kind of this little pattern there, the triangular wedge kind of pattern where I like looking for patterns. I like chart patterns.
Yeah,
So, we kind of form this consolidation. You remember this morning Steve was talking about how price starts to compress and then it expands. So we got that compression here. The wedge kind of got tighter and tighter and tighter. And this is a really great classic normal setup. You get a break, right, of this trend line. You get a retest of the trend line. That's where I added another contract, and then you
nice.
continue to move lower. Now you can measure this in many ways since our trade is a bigger picture trade. But we're probably seeing some buying here because if you measure, I could move this a little bit um, lower. But
Oh
if you
yes,
measure, let me get this box. If you measure here, and then some people measure it from the top, but I'll usually measure it from the break here. You can see that profit taking is right at that measured move there, right?
absolutely.
So that's the idea, short term behind the trade. And then in parallel, I was looking at the Qs, the Nasdaq, and saw okay, we retested. We're trading below VWAP, and we're kind of aiming for those pre-market lows we were talking about. And then finally, the Dow, that has kind of been our leading indicator, started trading below VWAP. So, I use VWAP as another line in the sand. If we're above VWAP, essentially we are quote unquote bullish. If we're
Yeah.
below VWAP, we're quote unquote bearish. So that was another check that, okay, we're probably ready to continue to move down. But
Excellent. Yeah, no, I love
now we're reaching those support levels. So we'll see if we continue to push lower or not. Now,
Well,
here's the
now,
thing.
Dave, really
Yep,
quick, just in the same way, it's kind of the flip side of that six sister part. So now the sister, she's in bed, but maybe now she might be on the mend, like you're talking about, and she can rest up and hold the market while everybody else is just still getting sicker. Well,
exactly.
so we can watch for that, but we can also watch for, hey, I mean, if she loses that level too, well then it's like, all right, you're sick again. Get
Yeah,
you're back in back in the sick house there. That's what I'm seeing is that okay, well, if the one thing that is holding above VWAP is now, like I don't know. I just kind of see it as this is a necessary step in the kind of dismantlement of a bullish, you know, top. And it's not to say that I don't think this move holds like altogether. I think that this is probably the bottom, and it's probably what we're seeing now is the sharp sell that's going to scare everybody into not believing that this is the bottom and that we're going to look
yeah,
forward through this, admittedly ugly conflict and say, hey, we can find a light at the end of the tunnel. And everybody is always hesitant, on the first sell after the potential bottom. So
yeah.
let's watch that kind of 50% pullback of that bigger move, which is still a ways down.
It's still a ways down. Maybe we get the 50% today, maybe we don't. If we're just looking longer term, let me see. Let me measure it on TradingView because it's annoying to measure on Black Arrow. And I told these guys we need a middle line because when you
Mm,
measure on Black Arrow like this, you don't get the center point, and it's annoying because I'm like I want to see the 50%. So I'll measure it on TradingView. Let's open the ES on an hourly and reset. So we can measure from different points. If we take it all the way from the bottom wick there, we're looking at 6, 7, 10, which
yes,
is a
sir.
little low for me if we're really bullish. Something Steve Spencer does a lot is he'll take the first measurement and then he'll measure again, but from like the this 50%, and then
We get the
Steve
quarter.
Spencer is a huge, super great trader from SMB Capital, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like yourself.
Yeah, he's been trading for like I don't know 30 years, and then that would be just right below 6,800. So 6784, 6780s, which I think we mentioned this morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's basically the uh upper upper half of the trend, and if we're really bullish, that's the area where we could be bottoming and reverting to the upside.
You
So
can kind of see that almost distribution, short-term distribution occurring right over that quarterly mark, right? That
yeah,
that midpoint of the top of the trend, like you were talking about. It's where that we stopped going vertical and started kind of curling, and now
yeah,
it looks
exactly,
really weak
right
to me.
there.
And
That's 6790 more or less.
you said the midpoint was 67.10, right?
Yeah, if we take it from all the way below there
Right.
and go there, the midpoint is 67, yeah,
You
6710,
want to guess
67.
what my trigger system is giving for weekly support?
What would it be? I don't want to guess. I want you to tell me.
67.11. So there's
Oh
a little
man,
bit of
seven
confluence.
eleven.
Yeah, there you go. There's a little bit of confluence. I think that's probably a zone of interest. So the 67
Nice.
11 to 6700, that 10, I like 10 point zones. That's
Nice.
pretty comfortable for me. So that's kind of where I'd be looking for the sell to kind of commence. Not a straight sell. That'd be pretty wild, possible. But I think straight sell maybe 20 30 points here is possible.
All right. So we'll see what the price does. We'll see how we interact there. We're still well now we've changed our average price. We were in from way up there, but it's fine. We are still short. The thesis is the same. We're looking to take profits into some of the profits around there.
Love it.
Those 67.80. Well, we said 67.80 was a level, so we'll be trying to take it a little bit before and anticipate. So 67.88, 89s. Hopefully we get them. And yeah, see what the rest of the move does for a day trade. And then if it behaves correctly, like I like to say, maybe I'll hold it for a swing. I don't know. We'll see.
What we talked about before and what I thought was a reason to be bullish. I was jumping the gun, by the way, Dave. So let's see.
No, you're fine.
I'll switch to my screen. It's a good
Let me get your screen up. One
good
sec.
teachable moment. Pulling it
Oh,
up right
sorry.
now. There we go. So this is in the same way that if you have a setup that looks good on the hourly for a long, for example, and then it starts breaking, it starts going down. Well, that breakdown will occur on the 1 minute chart first before it looks ugly on the hourly, and you'll still be
Obviously.
looking at that hourly going, I can justify this, I can justify this. And at some point you won't be able to, right? But that'll start on the 1 minute. So in the same way, despite this to me still kind of looking bullish, well, I have to start acknowledging, well, it is not developing in a continuously bullish way in the past half hour. So by that, I specifically mean this bottom node here. I mentioned before that this was about.
I can't remember. I was gonna ask you what was this?
So
The
this is this.
pricing?
It's the 700 node, and this is basically showing us the amount of notional volume or notional value at each
Value.
strike of the all of the contracts sold. So
Mhm.
basically, this is telling me that at 6,700, the combined value is minus, what is that, 8 billion or 6, yeah, just under 6 billion. So essentially, they market makers have to hedge for the potentiality of XPX going down to that level. So let's see where we are right now. You won't be able to see this on your screen, but I'm just
No, you're
checking the
fine.
SPX handle. SPX handle is currently 6760. 6760. So we are currently
And that level is
60
what?
points away from this the level. So the
60
idea here
points.
is that we are kind of in no man's land in between these this bigger level to the bottom and this really big level that we've now pushed down and away from. Wait, so 6750 here. Okay, I'm sorry. So we are still slightly above that. So this next 10 points down is going to be pretty important. We can either hold there and this bottom level can shrink and then there would be less reason to pull us down there, or we can see the continuation of a flip from a bullish profile into a bearish profile, and that would look like this growing as we're sitting in that 6750 range or 6750 level. So just hammering on support, and there's
Yep.
something growing underneath that's pulling price down into it. So
Yeah.
that would
Basically,
be how this would kind
market
of change.
makers anticipating that continued push down.
Well, it's the speculators
Well,
anticipating and the
speculators.
market
Sorry.
makers having to adapt to
Yeah.
the speculators. The market makers themselves, they don't really care. They're making
Yeah,
money
they're
left
just
and right.
making money on the the churn,
Right.
but
But
yeah,
you're identifying the actual pull, right? That's the what matters is the anticipation. That's what's directing the flow. So
yeah,
absolutely 100% there. Yeah. So just a cool thing to watch. So this is where it's like a good carpenter doesn't blame his tools, right? I just read this wrong. That's all it was. I got
yeah,
ahead of it and I said I want it to do this, so I'm going to assume it's going to do this. I'm going to assume it's going to stay like this and not at this critical juncture have this potential growth below, pull below what we just talked about. As there still is the pull above too, but if that's not seeing follow through, then we can see these wither away, these flowers die, and these flowers grow. You just saw these all tick up on this side. So I don't know
we'll
if we just got
see.
to roll with what's
Everything's
live.
possible because we've just seen some buying and some buyers stepping exactly at that level you gave us this morning, that 6800 level on the MES, which lines up
Yes.
exactly with that Asian level low. So you've been giving us gold for lack of a better term
I
this
don't know about
morning.
that. I think the real gold comes from the confluence. Just like in my system, I look for that confluence. Well, there's confluence between your systems and my systems, and those have been the levels that have gotten the most play.
Indeed.
Yeah, good
Indeed.
stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Takes a village to raise a profitable trader. You know,
There you go. To raise a profitable trader. I like that one.
it's the truth. I needed a city. You know, needed a major metropolitan area.
Yeah, man, it's crazy how long it takes though, how much time it takes if we're comparing, raising a person with getting good at trading. I didn't anticipate it was going to take so long. And I have to say by year 3 when I was ready to pull all my hair out because I had lost way more than I should have. And I was, when you get depressed, you're like, okay, I've hit a new low, literally, and you're questioning your sanity and everything. And then I heard this podcast about a guy who's a super trader now, but he said it took him a decade.
Yep. Yeah, I hear
So
that a
I was
lot.
like, oh, okay, a decade, and this guy's doing that well. So I'm in year 3. It's ups and downs, ups and downs. So I let me just give myself a decade as well. I'll do this for a decade, and if in 10 years I can't figure this out, then I'll quit because year 3, you're like, man, you're hearing guys who made it in 6 months, 2 years, whatever. You're questioning yourself. So
Everybody's different,
so
right?
it's the same way it takes a while to grow into an adult and kind of find out who you are. It takes a while to figure this trading thing out.
Oh,
And you
100%.
never have it figured out. So
Well, it's always, I'm a I like I get caught up in philosophy I don't understand, but one thing I think I get is I hear this a lot, like everything's in a state of becoming, right? Like
yeah.
nothing is just one thing. I'm not one thing, you're not one thing. We are so many things at the same time in the act of trying to, achieve some other goal. So, when in trading we're trying to achieve higher profitability, higher hit rates, higher conviction in our setups. Um,
Mhm.
it's the market itself is always in a state of becoming either more bullish, more bearish. It's in this process of back and forth, and all we can do is try to remove our own bias from this process as much as
Yep.
possible. Really,
Indeed.
really quickly, what we're just seeing is it just ticked up again here. So this has grown by about 500 million notional since we've been watching it on our screen here, this bottom node. And meanwhile, we can just double check. Yes, SPX just made a new low of the day. So that makes
We
complete sense.
are, yeah,
We're
we
seeing
are
the
moving
pull.
down
Yeah, we're
nicely.
seeing the pull
So
on this is kind of like the like pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz thing. It's like this is the man behind the curtain actually like pulling the strings. So we see this
yep.
move and the market will follow. So this is cool stuff that I'm working with here. I need to get it more like so you can just look and easily identify because all this stuff on the side, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even look at it. So I
Well,
can
get it
probably
out.
hone this a little better.
I see you have Claude integrated there, so nice.
Oh yes, sir. They helped me
Yeah.
quite a bit, quite a
I
bit.
just built I just built a new. I decided I'm not gonna pay for trading review software. I'm just gonna
Uh,
build my own that's tailor made to me, and I just
so
built one with Claude, and yeah, so I can analyze my trading and stuff.
wait, hold on. So
So
you built your own trading like charting platform?
no, not charting
Oh,
platform, just like a trade reviewer. So where you
okay.
could just upload your CSVs of all your trades, and then it could take a look at it, and you could see all the stats, when you trade well, when you don't trade well, but it's built like tailor made for me, for my trading. I'm still working on it, but the basics are there. I'm uploading stuff, and then I can have different tags. So it's because I wanted to have my actual trading from my real brokerage account. I wanted to have evaluation accounts, and I wanted to have funded accounts there.
Okay.
And you don't really get that with a paid service. Well, I
Yeah.
need to take
Well,
some of
that's
this
so cool.
off. Give me just one sec. Sorry guys, we're hitting a
What are we
cool
getting?
level there. All
Oh yeah.
right.
So
All
there's
right, so we
the
got two
six.
contracts out, and we're
Yeah, I
holding
think
the
that's
rest.
the front running that level, that
Yeah.
6750. Yeah, so front running that by a few points there. Yeah,
All right. I
62.
got a little bit off. I always say I take my payroll and then I take the bonus. So we just got
I
the
love it.
payroll. We got paid for the trade, and then the rest is extra.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't reclaim like 65, I think SPX. So let me pull that up on ES. Sorry. Let's see.
So I could put
Why am I
my
blind?
screen back.
Yeah, 68.20.
All right, so just to show everybody who's watching, we came really close to, the bottom of that measured move that we were talking about. That aligns with the levels Steve was mentioning. So I took a little bit off here, and I'm still holding the other two contracts for continuation to the downside, and we'll see depending on how that behaves, how long we hold. But that was the idea for today, short and
Nice trading.
hold it. And when it grinds down slowly like that, you could get a whole day grind. So
Absolutely.
um,
No, and I think it's Dave, I really like the just like being like it's like heads up play, like however you want to call it, where you're like, okay, I'm not waiting for this level to transact 100%. We're getting close, and I'm watching for a change in that tape. And then also just it's the 6800 here that we were talking about before.
exactly,
We're just negotiating, and it's not going to be it's going to be we're going to have a conversation here. There's going to be some
exactly,
buyers, there's going to be some sellers. We got to wait and see how that transacts in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, probably somewhere around there. So first green candle, that's not a sign to get the heck out completely. But like you said, pay yourself. We don't know how that conversation's going to go. We do know that you
exactly,
just made a good trade. You're down to a level. Let's take some off and see how this talk goes. Loving it.
exactly, exactly. We talked about this level. We knew that, okay, coming into here, something might happen, because there's nothing worse than, well, I won't say there's nothing worse, but it sucks when you see a level, you identify it, you decide, okay, I'm going to take profit there. It gets to the level, and then you don't take profit there, thinking it's going to go lower,
Yeah.
and then it ends up you were right and completely reverts back to the upside, because that's where everybody was looking. And then you've been in a trade for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, the whole morning,
Yep.
and you've made absolutely zero. So you didn't get paid for your work,
And then you
So
might get the ego on you and say, "Well, now I got a chip on my
now,
shoulder, and I was
yeah,
right the first time, so now I'm gonna pretend like I still have the same edge and just hold this. And oh, now I'm red on the day, and now I'm doubling down, and oh, now I'm big
exactly.
red on the day, and now I can't accept that loss, and now I'm catastrophically blowing my account because I'm
Yeah.
not using fivers and trade the pool.
There you go. There you
I'm not
go. You're
defining
gonna
my
start
risk."
martingaling yourself there and betting the whole house. I've
Exactly.
never done that.
No, we're perfect. We never oversize. We
Yeah,
never,
yeah,
yeah. No, but it's. I always say it's not that one day you wake up and you just don't make mistakes. It's that the space between the mistakes, if it gets bigger and bigger, the amount that you're willing to let losses and mistakes hurt you gets smaller and smaller. And that's really the name of the game. It's just the incremental increases. And just like you compound your victories and your wins and your capital, you compound your good habits too. And you get paid dividends just the same way.
exactly. That is exactly it. You do the right things, and eventually it pays off.
Hmm.
Back to what I was talking about, building the software for. I forgot to
Oh
finish
yeah.
my thoughts, but yeah, you can build it and make it tailor made to your trading. So that's what I'm doing. Eventually, I want to, because I found out you can connect Claude to TradingView and have it analyze things live.
Whoa.
Yes,
Oh, is
sir.
this
And it
new?
can,
Is this
if
with
it's
the
do
API?
yeah, it's through the
Okay.
API. I have to pay for it, and well, unfortunately, it works on Mac. I haven't figured out how to do it on Windows, because Windows blocks something. So you need to have TradingView, the desktop version, installed on your computer, and somehow I can't find the path. Like, where is it installed? I can't find it. I've been looking everywhere. It installs it from the what's it called, the store, the Microsoft App Store,
Right,
and
right.
I don't know where it stores it, and I can't find it. And
Huh.
yeah, so
Okay,
that's
I'll reach out
what's
to you after. I might be able to help, but it might be like the Windows thing, like you're talking about, and also there's just on Mac, like it has the whole computer integration where Claude can literally like operate your keyboard and mouse, which is wild,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something for example, I'm running into problems with Windows where for certain things it would be so easy for me to say, hey, why can't you just navigate to this website and check this one little box, this one little element,
Hmm.
right? And just give me that value. But it's going like, well, they're blocking me. I can't see it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
that's a problem. So I have a Mac as well. It's just an older machine, and my Windows gaming PC is what I wanted to use.
I'm doing the exact
Uh,
thing, yeah. Come on, let me
so
use this thing.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I was a Mac user for the longest. I was in advertising and design before this.
Nice.
So I swore by Mac, and then all the PCs caught up, and I'm like, man, this is way cheaper and just as good.
In the same way
So
Mac is dominant for some things, Windows for trading software, it's just so much better
yep.
often,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, anyways, but yeah, Claude is awesome. So I'm just building that tailor made to myself. I've made a bunch of indicators. Man, this thing is awesome. And
cracking.
I cannot write a single line of code.
Yeah,
This is
exactly. But
this
we
is a,
don't need to because
yeah.
it's just like if we were a good manager or a good at any job, you can delegate to the design team, to the coding team. You're
Yep.
you're just building a coding team for yourself. And by the way, nice flush. We're now through that 6750 level on SPX. Beautiful follow through there.
Beautiful
And
follow through.
yeah, Dave, dude,
This
that's
is
what I'm saying. You got paid. We can have a
yeah.
nice conversation. You're not missing a beat. You're making money on the back end. This is how it should be, right? A trade
Yeah.
shouldn't be stressful just intrinsically. Some trades are hard. Don't get me wrong, but like when this is how to
This one
manage them.
wasn't
Make
too
it easy.
easy, I'll say that. It was kind of I was doubting myself for a while
It
there in this
well,
area, but
Well, Dave, you had to get back in, but you analyzed the compression in the range, and you said, "Hey, this is the read," and I wasn't sure 10 minutes ago. Now I am. Well,
yep.
now I take it. So I love this. I think it's a perfect example, and now you're starting to really get paid, where you're starting to
Yeah.
get the cook down. We can, yeah, just checking in on my Gex here, and we're now up. Oh, yeah. So before it was 58 billion, now it's 85 billion.
Let me
So
just look
I
longer
don't know, well,
term what
not
this
80.
looks
It
like.
was
Man,
eight. It was 5.8. Now it's 8.5, I should say. So it's grown quite substantially, that node to the downside, and we still
nice.
have 40 points left to get there. So there's still a lot of meat on this, which is why you're seeing it just start to accelerate, even though it's been a pretty down day so far.
It's been a down
Um,
day.
from the
We're about 3 minutes from 11 o'clock where the London session is going to close, so I want to see what happens there. But we determined our levels, the 50% ones. Maybe I should mark them on this one. Let's just so I could see. We said it was 6, 7, 10, which is pretty ambitious. We talked about 67, 800, which we took out. We talked about 67, 80, which we're at exactly right now, and we're seeing buying action right now. And we're seeing increased volume.
Mhm.
So whoa, okay. Buyers are really stepping in. So that's a definite significant level right
For
there.
for me, I think we're still just
And
talking. We're just talking around this big 65 or 67.50. So now we're back testing. This is risky biscuits, as Josh would say on our stream. But I think this is probably a short more than a long.
yeah,
Just because,
I'm holding the short, and if it doesn't work out, I'll get stopped out break even. But I want this
yeah,
to be a whole day hold, so I can really get paid if it does work out. If it doesn't, then I've recovered 2/3 of my losses this morning, and then we just keep moving.
absolutely. I love that. Two steps forward, one step back. Maybe it's three
Yeah.
steps forward. Maybe it's four steps forward. There's going to be a step back in there, but as long as it's not
So
3, 4 steps back.
no,
You know?
exactly. So very here's a good psychological thing for people where I used to stumble in the past, and not that I don't anymore. But here's the thing: you take losses, you don't try to make them back all in one day. You just continue to trade, which is what I'm doing. Right now, I could have gotten out somewhere there, and then I would have been flat on the day. But it would be worse for me psychologically to find
Mm,
out that I got out too early and did not make profit than just holding and ending the day with a 1 hour loss, which was either way a planned loss, and
yeah.
then finding out that okay, I was right to just so Well, I'm getting lost in my thoughts, but it's it's more important to me to hold this trade and end the day red than not hold and find out that I should have held.
Yes, sir. I love
Right?
that because Dave, you're not afraid to lose a little bit of money. You're
Exactly.
a speculator. What really sucks is to make a little bit of money and just scare yourself out of the really big win, or lose a bit of money just because you were scared of X, Y, or Z. It's so worth it to let the idea play because that's what we're doing, right? We're defining our edge and we're saying, hey, I have edge here. I want to speculate on this. That's the whole point. So
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. It's such a healthy mindset because so many people just they play their profit loss. They play their P&L
Yeah,
line.
they're trading their P&L.
Exactly. It's not the way to go.
Yeah.
It's never the way to go unless you're like, hey, I'm very close to a big milestone. I'm gonna withdraw X amount of money.
Yeah, of course.
Then sure. But
Of
just in
course.
a vacuum, it doesn't make sense to have your entries and exits dictated by anything other than the actual setup, right? Like
Nice.
that just makes logical sense to me at least.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, with
Oh, it's that
those wise words, I'm glad that we're ending on that note. It is 11 o'clock. I see Ryan in the house. So, hi, Ryan. You didn't check in early this morning. Glad to see you there. Man, Ryan was down. He only had 97 bucks worth of risk, and now he's up 600 trading with us every day. Of course, he's a profitable trader. He's been trading for a while there, trades full time. So good on you, Ryan. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Glad to know that.
love it.
And Steve, I'll see you on Friday.
Sounds great. Can't wait, Dave.
All
Good to see
right,
you.
man. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Have a great week.
Take care, guys.